Thank you again for joining. I'm sharing my screen. I hope you can all see my screen. Let me just check for one more minute. Okay. So as I said, good afternoon for everyone. Thank you for joining. And we're going to talk today about software license management. And I will begin with an interaction I had with a procurement manager a few weeks ago. They told me that he's not sleeping well at night. It's a respectful company all over the world, divisions in several continents. And this procurement manager has no idea who is using his software and for what. And this is where we come into, and let me turn to the next slide. So welcome to my session again. We are OpenLM. As you can see, we have a global presence in the United States, Europe, India, and Japan. Over 1,000 companies around the world are using our software. There are practically, I would say, two things that I'm really proud of our company. The first is the transparency. Our prices, our documentation, you can find it in the web. We share it with everyone. The second thing is our expertise. This is not another product. This is not another service. This is our main product and main service, and we have a very high and dedicated team that is doing this job. Now, later on, there will be a Q&A. You'll be able to ask some questions. Now, if you wonder who we are, if you're going to check with ChatGPT or Google Bard, you will see that they rank us among the best companies in the world, the most advanced companies in the world who are taking care of software license management. Now, let's meet the team, the people who are usually involved in purchasing and maintaining corporate software licenses. The first one is the engineering or the users or the project managers. These talented men and women need software. They need the best tools available. They need the best possible SLA to work with. And if these people are not working, they don't have access to a software, the company is practically losing money. Now, this is not a hypothetical situation. Like an engineer told me a couple of weeks ago, the first thing he does when he comes at morning to the company, he grabs a license. He's not using it, but he's grabbing a license. If he's grabbing a license, in many cases, it means that someone else is denied an access to a license and the company is losing money. The next who is involved in this is the IT. In many cases, they are involved in purchasing, preparing the right infrastructure. And if the number of users doesn't make sense, they're either buying less equipment, too much equipment. And in many cases, if you are not using software licenses, it comes out of their budget. The next group is procurement. It's mostly the people who are now joined my session. You want to pay according to usage. Now, when we're talking about a vehicle, a car or a truck, it's relatively easy to know the usage. You can measure the kilometers or miles that the truck drove in a month or a year. But how do you know what's happening with software? Who is using it? Now, what happens if your company has several locations? How will you ever know who is using this software? Sorry for bearing the bad news, but practically you don't have a good tool or existing tools to measure who is actually using the corporate software. Now, how did we reach such a situation? Many answers. One of them, you have multiple vendors. You practically have to wander through a maze of different interfaces to understand each one of them and to get an idea who is using what and what kind of software is actually in use. It's not a simple task. It's a complicated task and practically impossible to do. Another thing is, to make things worse, is that you have multiple license options. You have node locked, you have named, you have network licenses, you have dongle-based licenses. So you have many vendors, different license options, just to make life more complicated. Now, we have now changes globally called the network licensing that people many times thought it's going to be a good solution, it's going to solve the problem, and it's not necessarily that true. We see a situation many times that people left the company, quitted, left the company, that are not working there anymore, but still the company is paying for a software or a license that no one is using. Another problem that we found is that people are not using the right software according to their position, either too low or too high, which means you either need to upgrade or downgrade the software to the person that you have given a software. So with all this information, with all these challenges, how can we decide? How should we know if we need to renew a maintenance? How do we know if we need to buy more licenses? Or ELA, do we need a named license or an enterprise license edition? How do we do it? There is practically one way to do it, and that's to create a common ground that IT, procurement, and the users, the project managers will know what to do. And this is exactly where we come into. We know how to integrate and read all the different licenses from multiple sources, and we give you, the procurement, the IT, the big picture, so you can know in real time and in a very accurate way who is using what and for how long. Now, this is only an example of the number of licenses, of the engineering licenses that we support and we can work and read with. Not all of you are working with engineering licenses, and I can show an example of software that you probably know. These are other popular software within organizations. Now I'll ask a question. Some of you have Microsoft Office in your company. Do you have any idea how many people are not using it at all? Let's see if someone can guess the number of people who are not using it all. Now, I'm not saying using it slightly. I'm not saying using it a little bit. I'm saying zero. Well, let me see some answers. Okay. As a rule of the thumb, around 5% of your people are not using Microsoft Office at all. The basic software that so many organizations are using, 5% are not using it at all. When we look at Microsoft Visio or Project, the numbers can be much higher. They can reach around 40%, 40. And to make it practical, if you bought a package of 500 Microsoft Project, probably 200 engineers, project managers are not touching the software at all. 40%. It goes the same for Adobe Photoshop. Now, you are all well aware about dashboards. You know it. I'm not going to show you something new, but I will ask your attention for a few slides to show you what happens inside the details, and we all know what lies inside the details. Look, this is a customer who gave us permission to show this slide, and we are analyzing a hydraulic simulation software in a remote factory in South America. We are checking here the usage for 2 years, and what we can practically see is that for 2 years, no one touched this software. We have here around 11 licenses that no one used at all. Now, it comes with a price. We're not talking here about thousands of dollars. We're talking here about tens of thousands of dollars. What a waste. Money that was spent for nothing. I would like you to look at this example. I will give it quite quick. And as you can see on the left, you have a very large group of users who have, let's call them the super users. And then there's a kind of diminishing way of using it. Now, Let's compare it to this one, to this kind of graph. What you'll see here, that you have practically a very small group of people who are using it, and most of the people, around 60% of the people, are not using it at all. We can stop or terminate the purchasing of around 60% of this software. Nobody will see any difference. Okay. I hope that this gave you a kind of idea what we're talking about. This is a kind of appetizer about what we're doing. A few words that are important for you to know. Our support is 24 hours a day, 6 days a week, and our team speaks English, French, Spanish, and German. Now, before we go to the Q&A, 2 short slides. One, if you want to learn more about us and join our newsletter, all you need to do is scan this QR code. And last, these are our upcoming webinars. You are all welcome to join. And now I will answer some questions that I see I have got here inside my box. Just a minute, let me open it. Okay, let's see. First question is, we cannot use a cloud service. Okay. For this situation, if you cannot use the cloud service, we are offering on-prem solution. Companies who cannot join or use our cloud, European or American-based cloud, all they need to do is they can contact us and they can use our on-prem solution. Let me see this question. Yes, I see about compliance. Yes, we have a ISO 27001 compliance. We have the ISO certificate. We also have GDPRS and SOC 2 for compliance. Okay. People, let me read this question. People have left our company and we didn't know about it. This is exactly what I spoke about before about the network licensing. In the case that you are using OpenLM, if someone will leave the company or will practically not use it for a very short time, we can see it and we will stop this usage. We will notify the IT and you will not need to pay for it. Next questions. Okay. We are an EU company. Do you have a EU entity? Yes. We have an EU entity, also an American entity for anyone who knows. Can you closer to, okay, I will explain the question. I have a question about termination of concurrent software. It connects concurrent, goes it's the same word for floating license, meaning that one license has to serve a few people. And if someone is not using this software, we know about it, and we can terminate his job and save it without losing anything. Do you have a trial version? Yes, we have. All you need to do is go to our website and register to this. The prices are also with the same answer. The question, the prices are in our website. Regarding our service, as I mentioned, 24 hours a day, 6 days a week, practically in 4 languages. Okay. Okay, last question, and I will leave time for a bit more. Can you integrate with Power BI? The answer is yes. We have a very extensive way with APIs to connect to Power BI. Let's see if we have more questions. Okay, if we don't have any more questions, so I'll thank you very much for joining our webinar, and I hope to hear from you. Thank you very much. Goodbye.